Hey everybody, welcome back to Midnight Road Garage, where I work on my project cars, or trucks in this case. This is the 65 C-10 project truck that I have done a couple videos on before. It was an abandoned LS swap that I picked up for pretty cheap. Among other things, the rear suspension was shot. I already did videos on that. If you want to check those out, I'll put a link in the description. In this video, I'm working on the front brakes. Currently, all it's got is drum brakes all the way around, and I don't know if you can see, it doesn't even have a master cylinder. So I ordered up the performanceonline.com front disc brake swap kit that also has a new booster, master cylinder, and all the components that go along with that. So let's take a look at those first, and then we'll get this thing up in the air. Everything came in 4 separate boxes. Here is one of our disc brake setups. So this is going to be a 2-inch drop spindle to get the front a little bit lower. This is definitely not ready to go the way it is. This is going to have to come apart. These bearings aren't even greased. It did come with a big bag of parts with this one. Now this one's still in the box. So you can see how it comes. There is some packing material that sits on top of this, but basically that's what it looks like in the box. Here is our new booster and master cylinder. Again, this is exactly how it's shipped. Only it was in a box, of course. But here's our final box. We've got some brake lines, a bunch of steering parts. We've got some ball joints, and our proportioning valve. Okay, let me get my 65 C-10 up on some jack stands and get these front wheels off. I'm about to go. Time to take a look at this front suspension and see what else I might need. I guess better late than never. Probably should have done this sooner, but check out our coil spring. That is old school. They cut the spring, welded it back together. Looks like it dropped it about 1.5 inches or so, I guess. But our new spindles are 2-inch drop spindles, so I think I need to order some new springs for this. That all looks new, but check this out. There's a nut missing. That's for the steering. That really would have sucked if that had come off. Yeah. Looking back here, let's see, we've got a bolt and a bracket. Then up here we've got a stud that's got a nut on it. But you know what we don't have? We don't have the shock that's supposed to be there, so looks like I got to order some shocks for this as well. It's time to actually take some stuff apart. Let's get this cotter pin out of here. I've already loosened up a bunch of stuff on the bottom just to get prepared to take it off after we take the top ball joint off. So we're going to take this off next. We will pop this loose from here. Then we'll be able to get at the lower ball joint, because this will be able to come forward. And then we can get the steering piece off, which will allow us access to the lower ball joint. Get this nut loosened up. Now I have kind of irrational fear of coil springs, so I'm going to just loosen this up about halfway. I got a floor jack here to catch it, just in case something goes wrong. Alright, so that spring still got some spring in it. That's why I hate coil springs. Take you up a little bit. Okay, we've got that off. We can let down on our floor jack a little bit. Coil spring is free. That's what we were looking for. And we can get that arm off. Now we'll be able to use our pickle fork to get this lower joint off as well. Get that out of the way. Let's take a look. Here's a close-up look of a cut coil spring that has been welded back together. Very old school, it works. So our new lower ball joints come with new nuts. Remember that missing steering nut? Yep, it fits. This is probably the original upper ball joint because it's riveted on. So we're gonna grind those rivets off and put a new ball joint in. Here's our old upper ball joint. Yeah, ground the rivets off. Now we're just gonna put a little bit of this stuff on here. Rust Reformer from Rust-Oleum. Long term, I have no idea how well this stuff works, but it's better than nothing. With the right size pickle fork and a perfect shot from the hammer, it, well, popped right off. Bye-bye, drum brakes. Got our ball joint tool on here. Where'd this go? Yeah, maybe use a little like helper there. Oh yeah, she's coming right out. Alright, we're out. Shame on me, I should have greased this thing up. Alright, well, you're going to see that tool again. Just going to knock some of the dirt off of here real quick. I think that's a stink bug egg. Alright, this is clean. WD-40. Alright, that looks good. Time to tighten her up. Let's see if we can get a little more bite on this. I mean, you might want to use impact on this, but according to the manufacturer, you're not supposed to. So I'm not. Okay, lower ball joint is done. Now we gotta bolt in our new upper ball joint. 4 bolts instead of the old rivets. Lock washer and nut. Upper ball joints installed, time to get the spindle ready. So even though this is quote assembled, it is not ready for use. Main reason I know that is the bearing seals are right here. This rotor needs to come off, bearings need to come out. In order to do that, we got to take the caliper off. Let's get that taken apart. I'm sure if you've done GM brakes before, you are familiar with how to do this. Caliper, brakes, set that aside. Thought that might be loose enough to do that. All right. Get you out. Take you off. Okay. Now, in case you were wondering how to tell which side is which, It does say C-10 left-hand side. You could also tell because you're looking for a 2-inch drop. So this is up high. Here's your steering. It's down low, so that kind of also gives it away. But anyway, now that we have this disassembled, we are going to go ahead and take our steering knuckle here, our spindle, and install it onto the truck the way it sits. We could assemble the brakes onto it and put it all on as one unit, but why? That just makes it heavier and puts more components in the way. So we're just going to do it like this. I mentioned that I have an irrational fear of coil springs. We're not going to really tighten this all the way down. I've opted to stick with the cut coil spring. I'll give it a shot, see how low the front is. If it's too low, I'll take it all back apart. We're going to at least try it on one side and see how it looks. That's why I hate coil springs. They do that crap. A very big turning radius, huh? But okay. Alright. Gonna tighten these two bolts up real quick. I use the old cut coil spring, and I'm glad I did. I don't think I would have liked it if it were any higher than it is right now. So even though it's got a 2-inch drop spindle on it, I'm using a rather tall tire because it is a truck. Way taller than what was on it. What was on it was, you know, puny, a little puny roller tire. So it was really hard to figure out how much it was actually dropped. But anyway, this is what it looks like at the moment. I only have everything mocked up. I have to take. I do have to take it all back apart. Time for a couple cotter pins, and then we use a grease gun and hit all these grease fittings. Okay, now that we got grease everywhere, we can now go put grease on our axle bearings and put those on. So I'm using some Fram high temp disc brake wheel bearing grease. Now there is a tool for packing bearings, but you can also do it with your hands. Tool works a lot better, but can't find mine at the moment, and I'm trying to get this done. So what you do is you take some grease, basically force it in to the bearings. I like to put it in around the top. Just pack it in there all the way around. You could probably do this with some gloves on as well, but that would require thinking ahead. Just keep going around, pressing the grease into the bearing and spinning. The bearings are spinning right now as I'm pushing on it, which of course is spinning the grease right in. Still putting in grease up at the top, at the bottom as well. Basically just really work the grease into the bearing. I can't specify that enough. Now I know some of you are going to say, well, you're not doing it right. You're not using a bearing packing tool. Well, I beg to differ. Many years ago, when I first started working on cars, they didn't really use bearing packing tools that often. This is really the way they did it a lot. And back then, this type of bearing was very prevalent. Every car used this. It wasn't like kind of the throwaway bearings of today, which are generally a lot easier to replace. And when I say easier to replace, I mean you just bolt it and unbolt it, and the rotor just kind of sticks on it, not like this where you have to assemble the whole thing as one unit. But anyway, I digress. All right, now that we've got this greased up, goes in the back of the rotor. Now here's the front one, and I just don't want to waste all this grease by wiping it off onto a rag. That's just another thing. That's another good reason to use the tool. You don't waste quite as much grease. It's definitely better to use the tool. I'm not advocating not using the tool at all. I'm just saying, if you don't have it or you can't find it, it's my case. Don't sweat it. Just pack the grease into the bearing really well. All right. I'm not done with that one. But I wanted to show you. Here we are. We've got our bearing in the rotor. Got a liberal amount of grease on it. Now we're going to put the bearing seal in. You guessed it, there's a tool for this too, and no, I'm not going to use it. Instead, I'm going to use this hammer. And I'm just going to... it's a little difficult to do with one hand. Let me see if I can balance this camera. Camera's balanced. Get it started. And then just go around tapping with your hammer. What you don't want to do is slam it down on one side. You'll end up bending the seal. If you're careful about how you do this, you're not going to mess it up. That seal's all the way down, so we are good to go once we finish packing the front bearing. And we do that same as before. I don't know, maybe this will void your warranty if you've got one. I don't think these have a warranty. I'd be shocked. Okay, on goes the rotor. And then our front bearing. Our washer, which only fits one way. And then our axle nut. And with this, I was always taught, basically tighten it until it won't move, and then back it off so you can put the cotter pin in. Show you that again. Here's our cotter pin hole. You can see my cotter pin will go through now. So what you want to do is tighten it as much as you can. See, now the cotter pin will not fit. This doesn't really move. And you back your nut off. So your cotter pin hole lines up. That is how tight it is supposed to be. And then just bend her up. Just go around the outside, gently banging on it. Otherwise you're gonna make the cap look like crap. And I can assure you, most old cars, these caps look like crap. You can always use something like a old tie rod to get that on there. Perfect. Next up is the brake lines, then we'll put the caliper on and the pads on, and we'll throw that shock absorber on there. Well, it looks like I'm not working on the brake lines at the moment. I'm missing a clip, and I need to do a little bit of research on the lines and see how they actually run. Since this thing didn't have any lines on it, working kind of blind, and with the LS swap, I think I might need to make a custom line on this side anyways. I think that exhaust is right where the line needs to go. So more research is needed. Let's go ahead and get this side done. Here we go again. Loosen up. Nut on the back side. This one's been off before from whenever the previous owner cut the coils. There it goes. Yeah, I don't know if you really need to take this arm off, but helps when you're trying to get that ball joint off. So yeah, I pretty much figured out the same thing I figured out on the other side. There's no getting bottom off until you take the top off completely, which I'm not a fan of. Got you out. That light's really getting on my nerves. Eventually they give up. Alright, well, time to get back to the old grind and make sure you get your safety glasses on. So, lots of fun happenings while this camera's battery was charging. Doing some prep work and, well, I ended up having to sharpen a screwdriver, but let me show you some footage from my phone. This should just slide off, this bearing should just pull right off of here. It appears to be glued down. I've been trying to use this razor blade to get the glue out. I've even tried some goof off. I've tried WD-40. See the razor fits in here? And then you go around and it just stops because there's glue and there's sticky crap all over this. Just gonna hammer the razor blade around it. Yeah, I just had to sharpen a screwdriver. Yeah, this is not going back on here until this thing is completely clean of glue. Anyways, that was fun. Finally got that off. Now I can actually get back to work. Pop in our new upper ball joint. You saw this on the other side, 4 bolts to put the upper ball joint in. There. Bring you up a little bit more. Perfect. So we got the new disc brake assembly on, the new spindles on, and of course new ball joints and new tie rods. So, pretty much done with this video. In the next video on this truck, I will be installing the front shocks, all the brake lines, including brake lines on the back of the truck. Those are also missing, and we'll see if we can get these brakes operational. But for now, like, subscribe, comment, and stick around a few minutes. I'm going to put the new front wheels on here and drop it down and we can see how it looks. Thanks for watching. I like the way that looks.